what are we using it for? We're trying to drive behavior.
Yeah.
A particular behavior, whether it has to do with sales or recognition or growing the business or reputation, you name it. It has a reason. And if I am being recognized for something, for a behavior that I did, but I don't know why I'm getting a pin or a plaque or a whatever, then it didn't drive my behavior.
Okay, so in our last session, we talked about hypergrowth, and as exciting as it is, how you need to prepare yourself not to have a crash. But in this session, what I want to chat to Mark about is recognition and how you recognize your field and how important recognition is. So Mark, recognition, big topic.
Yep. First of all, thank you very much again. Looking forward to round 3.
Yeah. Ding, seconds out.
Ding. Take 2. When especially, we want to talk and we want to give value in this session to somebody who's contemplating where to go with multi-level marketing and direct selling, whether starting or whether taking a step back and looking at their current business model. Recognition can easily be looked at too late, right? I will use myself as an example. Everybody wants to be recognized. Every single person, up to the top corporate executives, I don't care who you are, think of frequent flyer programs. Think of the 1K people. Think of the Lufthansa Hun. I was a Hun for 20 years. Okay, I had with pride that dark brown label on the outside of my bag to show that I was like one of Lufthansa's top flyers. So, and when that recognition, this is so important because after I stopped flying around the world as a corporate executive, this year, for the first time in over 20 years, I lost my status with Lufthansa. And would you believe, this is really funny, but you really start to think, wait a minute, I just got a new tag. My credit card is no longer black, now it's gold. I was demoted by I'm no longer their flying god, okay? I'm no longer one of the top 100 people, right? And I take a step back and I look at recognition, right? And what it means. And it is valuable to each and every one of us in every walk of life. I don't care how much you earn, what you do, recognition is important to each and every one of us, right? You can't just sweep it under the carpet. We need it. It's part of our lives, right?
And for some people, it's more important than everything else.
Exactly. Exactly. So take it back. Day 1, thinking about starting my company, or I'm doing a due diligence, I'm pressure testing my current business strategy because I already own a company in multi-level marketing. Do you have a continuous recognition program? What does a continuous recognition program mean? How do I start by recognizing somebody from day 1, the day that they sign the application to become a participant in my business, right? I want to recognize them. If it's a thank you letter, whatever it is, it's recognizing that first activity and having a continuous recognition program that is recognizing behaviors along the way that the company wants to see. Yeah. And whether that's the first sale, whether it's an activity in the first 30 days, whether it's a year-long qualification, whether it's getting to that next level, whether it's whatever activity it is, but it can be recognized and needs to be part of a program so that you can see what it is that and especially get your staff rallied around it so that they're encouraging their call center phone calls to and recognizing them. Like, hey, I just saw that you earned this and congratulations again. And so I have that information readily available, right? And you can I don't think that you can over manage this particular topic. It's so important to recognize people really from day 1 through their entire path.
But it needs to be valid recognition.
It needs to be valid. It needs to be sincere, whether it's from stage or whether it's, and don't forget your staff along the way. Right?
No, for sure.
They need recognition as well. Different topic, but it needs to be valid and in a format and in a forum where where it's seen, where it's visible, right? So take a leadership seminar where maybe 1,000 people are going to an island or a city or whatever because they are the top 10% and they're being invited to an event. But you want to recognize the next level of leaders, and so you have a cocktail reception for the next level, but you make sure that there's huge signs that show that that particular cocktail reception is only for this group of people. So I'm going to the reception, you're not yet. So your recognition now becomes an incentive and a motivation because you're all part of an event, but only a certain group of people are actually going there. So a little bit of uh, philosophy behind it as well, but it doesn't water down the importance of it.
Well, I remember going to an Amway meeting, and down at the front they had couches, and they had people in penguin suits with trays serving the diamonds drinks, coffees. So as the show went on, there the diamonds were all sitting in these lounge suites, and then behind those you had emerald seats, and then you had ruby seats, and right at the back were all the plebs where I was standing. All the guys who just started off as IBOs, all wishing they were down there at the front. And that recognition, I mean, that was in front of the peers. It was very, very obvious.
Absolutely.
You know, the diamonds were being recognized out of their socks.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole auditorium was raked back to, as I say, the IBOs who were sitting at the back thinking, damn, I wish I was. How do I get down there? How do I make it down there?
How do I get there? You're absolutely right. And it might sound orchestrated, it might sound almost a little bit childish in a sense, but it's amazingly important to people.
But it's the brown tag on your
it is. It's the brown tag, and I laugh at myself for placing so much value on my own brown tag. But it's like, okay, I earned that because I flew around the world 8 times in 2018, right? And so I earned that status. And it was interesting to me how important it was to have the tag because I knew I had the status, but it was the tag showing other people that I had the status.
100%. Yeah.
Jiminy Crickets, and I look and I go, wow, that's so important to this.
And now, if somebody like you who's made it, let's be honest, you've arrived. If it's important to somebody like you, what about the person who's coming up the ranks who hasn't yet got there? And you don't have to recognize them as a top performer, but you need to recognize them where they are in the business.
And so to our listeners, you don't underestimate the importance of recognition. You over-engineer it so that it works and it fits and everybody understands, everybody in your organization understands, the employee organization, how important that is, and don't mess it up. And get into the detail. Make sure that when those names are spelled on the certificate that's being handed on stage, that they're double and triple checked. Okay, I was laughed at. I was laughed at sometimes, and the staff would cringe when I would say, "Okay, before the recognition starts at an incentive, we have the stage set up. The day before, we practiced the recognition. I got staff to line up and pretend that they were the next level of people going on stage. We practiced going up on stage, practiced where the people are going to stand, practiced where the microphones are going to be, so that the recognition was flawless. There couldn't be any. Check the lists, make sure you didn't forget anybody who just was a last minute qualifier or whatever it is. You know, get into that detail, own it from the top, and make sure that every staff understands how important it is, right? And I remember one time, a wonderful executive reported to me. He was in charge of Italy, and we went through this whole recognition practice session and everything. And I saw him. He went back to corporate after doing 3 years in Italy or 4 years in Italy. He went back to corporate. We met for lunch, and he said, "Mark, what I learned from you is how to do recognition right." And how important it was. And back then when we were practicing, I thought, what the hell are we doing now, right? And he says, now that's what I do with my staff, because he was then in charge of special events from the corporate level. He says, now we practice recognition every single event, right? And a little pride in that moment, but it just shows that all the way to the top, it is the most important thing. You got the flowers, you got the right size flowers, right? You know, some little teeny bouquet that some bride might throw over her shoulder. No, you want them to be representative. You want them to be worthy of the photo session and so on and so forth. Super, super important details.
That's interesting. And obviously, you want to make sure that if a person is getting early recognition because they've signed up 2 people in the business, that the recognition fits the activity. You don't want
Right.
to make it an epic recognition for this tiny little, you want, because the people will feel that they're being conned. So you
Right.
need to make the recognition fit the activity.
It's imbalance. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. It's a super good point, right?
And one of the things I say to a lot of our clients is, listen, you need to automate this as much as possible because people make mistakes. If you systemize it properly, then the mistakes are kept to a minimum. You still make mistakes, but they're kept to a minimum. I'll give you an example. What we do with our software. Let's say you sign up somebody. So the software sends you a message. Congratulations for signing up, John. Regards, Richard, CEO of the company. But it then sends your upline, Mary, a message. Say, hey, listen, Mark just signed up John. Why don't you give Mark a ring and tell him well done? And also, go and give John a ring and welcome to the team. And then it sends a message to his upline, her upline. Says, hey, listen, Mary's team is really going well. Why don't you give her a call and say well done? Because Mark has just signed up somebody, so her team is growing. And so what we do there is we automate the messaging to the upline to announce to them that something cool has happened, and then we get them to recognize the field.
Right.
And so I think it's so important that the leaders in the team are actually recognizing their downline, but you need to give them systems to be able to know what's happening easily and then to follow through on that.
Two really important points here. One's a rabbit trail, and the other is just tagging on to what you said. Automate and personalize. And you said it, and I want to make sure that point really stands out because it's super clear. The automation supports the activity, especially as you're growing fast. But the personalization is the most important piece. It can't be an automated signature.
No.
Okay? Or today's chatbot, whatever it is, you get a phone call from a computer. Wrong. That's not recognition. It has to be personalized. The other question is what happens in some major companies, some larger MLM companies, is that you've got the iconic leaders of the business and you've got the corporate recognition, and that which is more important, right? Is it getting the phone call from the iconic leader when you get to a certain recognition level, or is the company recognition? Philosophically, there's a bird's nest there, right? Because it goes back to the topic we had before about the value set of the company and who's driving the direction of the company. That recognition piece has to be from as important from the company as it is from the organization itself. It has to mean as much, if not more, right? Which is difficult to.
At what point do you bring corporate recognition in like that? So where a person actually gets a phone call from somebody who's at corporate to say, hey, I see you've reached. At what level do you start doing that? Because you can't obviously do it to a person who signed up 2 people. I mean, that would be a million calls.
Not signed up 2 people, but close to it. Because as you're growing, you've got your call center people. They've got all the data in front of them. So when you get to your second or your third level, and you've got that phone call, that it can be proactive, it can be an outgoing call that says, hey, congratulations, you've just become an X percenter, whatever. Congratulations, anything we can do. That could be a downtime call center activity, right? Proactive. Or when the call comes in, because you've got your data in front of you, you see that the person just qualified yesterday, so you make sure that you pick up on that, right? And so I would say, yes, that recognition can be from corporate through the entire path, and determine when is it the GM of the market that actually picks up the phone, or when is it a sales, a field coordinator that might make that call, right? And that,
or just a call center person,
or whatever, right? Or the head of sales, or that's a boardroom discussion to say, okay, this is how much time I'm going to invest.
These are the break points,
in these things, right? And what's super key to me is the power of the pen. The power of the pen, and never, whether it's Christmas cards that are going out, or whether it's welcome cards or farewell cards at an incentive, or anything in between, certificates. Don't use a computer. You use
actually sign the certificate yourself.
People thought I was crazy. Before we had leadership seminars where we had 5,000 participants on an island, and it would take 3 evenings and 2.5 bottles of Cabernet Sauvignon. And I quit signing Beiderwieden. I signed Mark B.
Okay.
But I signed 5,000 welcome cards. And it was recognized. I heard back from the leaders that they knew that I was doing that it was important. Okay? There's not a Christmas card in the world that was sent that has my name printed on it that doesn't have my personal signature. I said if it's not important enough to me, if I just delegate this to an assistant or to somebody else to do it for me, then don't do it at all. Don't waste the money. Don't waste the postage stamp. Don't waste the time. It's not worth it. People see it. It doesn't have any value to you whatsoever. You've got to personalize it. It's got to be for real. And I've told that speech many, many times. And I try to encourage young people who are in the business to make sure they do it right, because it is seen. And it's seen especially by the top leaders who you're starting to try to build a relationship with. You might be new in the business. The leader might be in the business for 5 years already, and you're new. Right? How do you know? You've got to do the work. They've got to see that you're in this with your heart.
Yeah.
It's super important. And I've had this conversation, and this is going, down to recognition as well. When those 5,000 people land at the airport in Tenerife or Malta or wherever else, where do I greet them? In the hotel lobby or at the airport?
Okay. So obviously at the airport.
For me, it's pretty obvious. If your son or daughter was studying abroad and is coming home for Christmas, do you see her when she comes into the living room for the first time, or do you go pick her up at the airport?
That's right.
You love her. You got to show her that you love her. You don't tell her to take a cab or take the public transportation. You go pick her up because you love her, and you got to show that you love her. So you go to the airport, and you go to the airport every single time, and you pick these people up personally. You stand in front of the bus, and you greet every one of those people who paid your salary to be there, who qualified to be there, and you say, thank you, congratulations, and help them get on the bus. That's my conviction. That's where I come from.
And that's part of the recognition.
That's part of recognition.
So you are recognizing them with your time.
I am showing that I care, that I love them, and that I'm recognizing the fact that they have qualified to be there, and I cannot wait to spend the next 3, 4, 5 days together with them and recognize their achievements.
Okay, so let's just start right from the bottom. I think this is fantastic.
Sorry.
I think this is fantastic. So let's start at the bottom. A new person comes in. What kind of recognition do you put in place for a new person who's just got started?
That can be as simple as, in these days, some kind of a digital thing, right? But if you're starting your company, if you're brand new and you've got some form of a starter kit that is going out that has either products or materials or whatever in it, if you're a brand new company, if you own that business, your welcome card is signed with your signature that says "Welcome to Blue Sky." Why not? You can't, if you've got 100.
So that would be a recognition right from day one. It's so
absolutely
good to have you on board. We're really excited about it.
Whatever.
You have a nice message there.
Right, and sign it yourself. You can't sign 100 different welcome letters for the first 100 people joining your business or whatever. You don't have time for that. I hope you do. You're in the wrong business if you don't.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Right? You have to. No question about it.
And so your point is, how do you build that continuous recognition program?
Yes.
You look at those points. Look at the behaviors and the activities that you believe need to be recognized, starting in the business. The first sale, the first person being sponsored or brought into the business, the first training program that has been completed, right? You can recognize training programs, which I would highly recommend to do. Some in some way or form, right? It could be pins, it could be certificates, it could be stage, it could be anything. And look at those points and have discussions together with the staff who are trying to build the business and say, okay, when people get to this level, what can we do to be special? What do we do to stand out so that achieving that particular behavior or whatever it is for the first time, that is recognized in a formidable way. And without digging too deep into budgets and things like that, big difference. And I know that you've said this yourself. Incentives cost money, recognition are from the heart and super important and should not be a big cost factor.
Yes.
Right? There's always a cost to doing something.
You're not paying the person. There might be a cost in terms of hosting an event or having them at an event or whatever. That recognition could carry a cost, but the bottom line is you're not physically paying them. You're not giving them a laptop or a tablet or a new cell
Sure.
phone. That's
Check.
incentives or check.
Yeah.
That would be either commissions or incentives.
Exactly.
Sorry about that.
Recognition is something standing out, saying thank you for doing this.
Yeah. I was at an Amway meeting, going back to Amway again, stood at the back there, and everybody who'd signed up 6 people in any calendar month in the last 3 months was asked to walk down and to come and walk across the stage. So they walked down the aisles, came in on the one side of the stage, walked across the stage, walked off the stage, back to sit at their seat.
Right.
But what was amazing is that the announcer, the presenter, said, I'd like everybody to stand up and give these people a standing ovation. And so I get chills. I mean, these are people who've just started in the business. They've signed up their first people. They've now signed up 6 people. They walked down on the stage, the entire audience, there were 12,000 people there. The audience is all on their feet, cheering and whooping and whistling and screaming as these guys walk across the stage.
Yeah.
Now, where in your life will you ever get a standing ovation? I mean, how many people ever get a standing ovation?
Right.
And hear these people walk across the stage. I mean, for me, standing at the back of that room, I thought that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Is that cost them nothing to do. They were getting recognized by their peers, and just it blew me away completely. And those people, when I tell you the smiles, as they walked across that stage, the smiles were just priceless.
And it's so wonderful, and there's different components or perspectives to those feelings, because the people who are standing up and applauding, they've been there. They've done it. There's nobody in the multi-level marketing business who just bought his way in at the top. Because if he did, he's in a business he shouldn't be in, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Right? Everybody started with a starter kit. Everybody started with an application, and they know what it means to be if you signed up 6 people in the last 6 months or whatever the example was. They've been there, and they know how tough it can be, and they know how gratifying it will be, and that's why they're applauding. And at the same time, those same people who are now being applauded were sitting in smaller rooms, because what you're describing is a bigger event. They were sitting in smaller rooms. They were being trained and taught and encouraged by those same people that are now standing up and applauding their activity. What a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Right? This role reversal, this psychological, how do you deal with that in your head?
Yeah.
It's like, I just thought that guy was an amazing speaker 3 weeks ago, and now that same guy or gal is standing up and applauding me because I sponsored 6 people. Wow.
Pretty exciting.
It's amazing. And to cost, what did it cost?
Cost nothing.
Nothing.
And that's the thing for me. When I look at recognition, if there's a cost involved, the direct cost, then I put that into the incentives basket.
Right.
And I always look for recognition. I'm always looking for ways that I can recognize people where it's from the heart and not from the pocket. Because I feel that recognition from the heart is more valuable than a recognition from the pocket.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm recognizing you and I'm patting you on the back and I'm shaking your hand, it's Mark, that's just amazing what you've done, or well done for signing up, Mary. This is incredible. First step on the road. I'm so excited for you. All of that stuff. It costs me nothing. It costs me a phone call. Yeah. And for the company, it costs an SMS to Richard to say, hey, Mark just signed up Mary.
Right. Exactly.
You know, it costs nothing.
The automated part.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to automate the congratulations. No. That you don't want to do, because if you automate that, it loses, as you mentioned, it loses all credibility. Right. But if I get a prompt to say, hey, Mark just signed up somebody, because what the automation is doing is letting me know that Mark just signed somebody up.
Yeah.
Now, when I phone Mark, hey, Mark, I see you just signed up Mary. How cool is that? That is epic. Yeah. what we did with Acorn Kids is we got for this particular recognition program, we got everybody to download the sound of a cash register onto their cell phone. So when the SMS came in, their phone went ka-ching.
Oh no.
Just for fun. It was for a laugh.
That's great.
And I remember recruiting somebody in the field one day, and my phone was sitting there and it kept on going ka-ching. And the guy said, "What's going on there?" I said, "No, every time somebody in my team actually signs somebody up, I get notified, so that I can actually phone them up and say, well done." And he signed up there, and as he signed up and he finished putting his information in, my phone went ka-ching. And I said, and that's how it
I think
worked.
that's funny.
Huh?
That's funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it worked like a bomb
Absolutely.
because obviously, I mean, people will literally leave their phones on in the meetings,
Intentionally.
hoping that a ka-ching would come in, so
Right.
that they could actually there's social
My
proof.
business is growing.
Yes, there's social proof happening right there.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I think that a company needs to, again, what you were saying, a company needs to come up with those breakpoints,
Right.
and then recognize the people, as you say, from the heart.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want to take it a step further, work together with the field leaders who are experienced and talk to them about the programs. Don't think that the corporate knowledge and experience is enough. Talk to the leaders and say, are we recognizing or are we missing something? Is there some place along the way that's more important, right? The more you can integrate field experience into your processes, the more successful it's going to be.
Okay, let me ask you another question. In terms of recognition, how important is it to have a documented recognition for everything you're doing, so that when I'm out there in the field, I know what I need to do to get that recognition? So training me on how recognition works. So for example, if I know that if I sign up 2 people at the next convention, I'm going to be walking across the stage, how important is it for me to know that is how I get recognized? Or is it just something you want to keep them in the dark about and just recognizing them in the dark?
That's an amazingly good question, because the recognition, at the end of the day, what are we using it for? We're trying to drive behavior.
Yeah.
A particular behavior, whether it has to do with sales or recognition or growing the business or reputation, you name it. It has a reason. And if I am being recognized for something, for a behavior that I did, but I don't know why I'm getting a pin or a plaque or a whatever, then it didn't drive my behavior. It was by chance.
Yeah.
It was happenstance.
Yeah. Good word.
Right? Wonderful. Then leave it alone. Then don't do it. Right? No. This is why a continuous recognition program can be called something like that. Right? Branded. Right? Under this is what we do. This is our path to success. This is our runway. This is, whatever you want to call it, but branded. And it is the continuous recognition program of the Blue Sky Company. Yeah.
And then you train them.
Absolutely.
Part of your training is,
whether it's communicating or however, whether it's a proper training set, or
you can
make
even
sure
have
it's
a
out
manual.
there.
You
Absolutely.
can even have in your manual saying that
Yeah.
these are our recognition points. This is you
this is
become a star salesperson, or you become a 2-star salesperson, or you become a pace setter, or whatever those things are.
And why?
And why? Yeah.
Yep.
And then if a person knows what they're doing it, then they will go after it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're trying to teach a balanced business. And a balanced business means that we have a product focus, but we also have a focus on building our business, and there's training components to it and so on. These are the things that are involved in a balanced business. Do these things get recognized through this, right? Because a balanced business means you're going to be successful and sustainable long term.
Now, that is a good word that you just brought up, balance. I want to just touch on that quickly. A lot of the CEOs of companies that I talk to are first of all, a personality types. They're the drivers. It's just who they are. That's how they got their businesses up and running. So they're A-type people. The second of all, they are driven by money. Okay? So they tend to think that everybody is driven by money. And so they tend to say, well, the most important 2 things in our business is our product, got to be good, and the compensation plan. they don't seem to put any weight onto how important recognition is as part of the plan. So what would you say to a CEO about when they're going, how solid should that plan for recognition be when they're going? Should it be as much as the compensation plan, or is it secondary to the compensation plan? What would your...
It's clearly a function of, because the recognition has to recognize what's happening in compensation. And so the compensation plan is the holy grail, right? I mean, that's what your business is built on. And then you recognize activities that support that, your success in the compensation plan. So I think, but to its importance, that you have, at least before you launch your company, you have a couple of hour-long discussion on how are we going to be recognizing people in the early days of our business. That, I believe, is as important as making sure you've pressure tested your software before you launch. So I agree 100%. I would want to make it clear, for a listener, the motivations why people join an MLM business in the first place.
Okay.
Right? And there are people who want a part-time income, people who are looking for a full-time income, people who are looking for a community to belong to. And some people join because their person they were talking to told them to. And they couldn't say no.
Or the only chance they'll ever have of going overseas on an international trip.
Maybe if I can, all those things. And so the recognition program then needs to pay attention to those motivations of why are people in my business in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So that I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, but just interesting how recognition drives the business, and you would have seen it. I mean, Amway, I think, are masters. If anybody wants a master class on recognition, they need to go and see how Amway does it, because they'll get a master class on how to do it.
Right.
They blow me away.
And remember that it never stops, and the important never stops. And even at the top levels, there are discussions when somebody was recognized, and then you have a dinner with the person who wasn't recognized, where they say, well, wait a minute, I did this, why didn't I? And right, and so on. And so you've got to do your due diligence.
And that's where the automation comes in.
It's important all the way to the top.
Yeah, and that's where the automation, your reporting needs to be automated. You need to have the benchmarks, and your reporting needs to tell you this guy hit it, or this gal hit it.
Yeah,
you know?
And interestingly is that the recognition programs, when done properly, once you've achieved that level of income on a regular basis over a period of time, and you've arrived, what really drives you is that recognition, showing that literally thousands of people see that you're still in it, you're still doing it, you're still moving, and you are becoming one of the best in the country, or the best in the world, or the best in the universe, or whatever it is.
And at that top level, I saw Amway, what they did is they got those people to come up to the stage and talk.
Absolutely.
So they become keynote speakers.
Absolutely.
And what is the recognition factor there is just through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Totally different topic there on incentives and whatnot. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. That was fantastic, that session. I think that, is there anything else you can, I think we did there.
All good.
So awesome session with Mark. We're going to be closing this off now, but we'll be getting into another session on incentives next. So stick around for that one.